Seltzer Time!
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Seltzer Time podcast. It's your boy Ricky, a.k.a. Dick Chuck, a.k.a. the man behind the can at Seltzer Time Official. Here as always with my conversation accomplice, the man with the hunch about Worcester, Travis.
What is crackin' Fizzle Fiends? Welcome back to the Seltzer Time podcast. And as always, we are so glad you are with us. This week on the show, we are talking to the boys from Bardown Breakdown, a podcast all about punk rock and hockey. But before we get there, y'all know what we have to do. Hey, Ricky, how was your week, buddy?
What's up? My week was lovely. I spent most of it just kind of hanging out, you know. I'm excited about the way the Bruins are playing right now. They're looking good. I'm excited about the way the Celtics are playing. They're looking either really good or okay, but they haven't had a full squad. They're actually currently playing right now, and I have no idea what's happening. What else is going on? Yeah, man, just been working, hanging out, and football playoffs that I don't really care about, but I did finally watch. I watched my first full game of the entire season on Sunday.
Wow. What game was it?
I mean, everybody in the world had to tune in to see what Tom Brady was going to do. And they won. And I'm pretty stoked about it. I think it's amazing that like, yeah, it sucks he's not doing it in a Patriots uniform, but there's no way that team was going to do anything anyway. So like, I'm stoked for him. You want to say he has like 2 good years left in him, but the way he's playing, I'm like, this fucking guy might play forever.
Dude, I mean, and he could sit back as a second string for, I know it's not in his MO, but it totally could be.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He can play till he's 50. Like he's
Seriously.
4, I think, right now. And it's like, it's so impressive. I really, really want him to win another Super Bowl. And I love Gronk. And like, I could care less about Tampa Bay. I don't care about them. I don't like Antonio Brown. There's parts of that team that I either don't care about or genuinely don't like. But it becomes bigger than like, oh, he was my quarterback. He's still going to the Hall of Fame as a Patriot. Duh. And at the end of the day, like you get to sit and watch the absolute greatest quarterback of all time possibly win another Super Bowl with another team, but like long after he should have been good. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, it shows his talent, his raw talent, and what he's able to do on a field. Yes, it takes receivers and it takes defense and it takes a full team to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but and it's a hell of a team.
That's exactly it. If it's a team like that, they're really anyway. Good for you, Tom. I know you don't need our fucking.
He probably. I'm sure he listens.
Giselle listens. Giselle makes him.
Giselle does listen. It's actually like super awkward because there's always that 1 or 2 people that comment on every single thing we post in the DMs, and friggin' Giselle's always one of them. And it's super awkward because I'm like, dude, like come on the show.
You're a mom, you know, just relax with some of that language, but come on the show.
Yeah, like come on the show. We don't have censored language. You can literally say all the things you're saying. Totally fine. And she's always like, oh, I don't have time. You know, we're busy. And I totally get it. She's a gangster. Like she's running her own empire. Never mind what, you know, her and Tom have going on together. It's just, she's just very impressive. So again, shout out to Giselle. I know, you know, it's more of a like, pull back the curtain to the Seltzer Time DMs, which are a magical place. But yeah, I mean, just so you guys know, when you DM us, you are fighting for attention with Giselle, and realistically, she's going to win.
Yeah, and we're not even naming all the other A and B list celebrities that we talk to on an hourly basis.
It's kind of a lot.
My week was great. Thanks for asking. We had some. I'm just fucking around. I'm just messing around. No, I've been hanging out with the Woot Nanny guys, so I'm trying to get better at comedy and being a wise ass because they're really good at it. We had a great episode of Sorta Late Show on Saturday, and it was the first time we brought it on Twitch. People can go see it right now, twitch.tv/WootNannyComedy. We have that. We have some older videos, and we have the surprise Jackbox stream that we did on Sunday night. It was Sean, Mairead, Brian's girlfriend, Jess, and the good friend, RB.
Dude, RB. I didn't know RB was going to be on it.
He was our special guest, and he was hilarious. Brian's brother, Rob, jumped on at one point. Molly Cronin played a game with us. It was super cool.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, it was super chill. And it was almost like we were all hanging out just like, like we would be hanging out in somebody's house, but we were just all on the internet and people were watching us. What?
I'm very into that.
Yeah. Well, so you're going to be able to see Ricky and I on an upcoming Twitch stream on January 30th. We're going on the top 5 cast on twitch.tv/WootNannyComedy, hosted by the very funny Doug Gurton.
It's true. The main reason we're doing this is January 30th is always that weekend between the final playoff game and the Super Bowl. It's a bye week. We were actually going to take it off because, duh. Yeah, exactly. But in the last couple of years, I've gone to the Bahamas, and I can't do that this year. I don't even know if that was actually a plan that we were going to do, but I'm just going to pretend it was. But it comes down to Giselle, again, being as busy as she is, put in a special request that we highlight a different platform during the bye week because a little guy, TB, wants to check us out, and he's a little too busy, but he's got a week off, so he figured that would be the one. So she asked us to do something. We thought it would be really awkward for us to,
just
do a live
channel.
Do something ourselves. And Doug was around, and we were like, "Hey, Doug, I don't know if you know, but Giselle, and her name starts with a G. Your last name starts with a G. Maybe we just do this. Maybe we team up and see what happens." And Doug was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, guys. I don't really care." So, yeah, whatever. If you watch it, just know that you're watching the same thing that Giselle and TB are watching at the same time.
Exactly. I have nothing I can play off of that. So the truth is somewhere in there, and we're going to have fun. Definitely check it out. And this week was pretty chill. I got to work on a fun project with my friend, Mrs. Morcone's. Mrs. Morcone's ice cream is getting an upgrade, and I'm super pumped for what's in store for her.
Yeah.
So check out Mrs. Morcone, Mrs.Morcone's on Instagram. And Julia will definitely come on the show, and she will probably be one of the most vulgar guests we've ever had. And I absolutely love that about her. The first time I met her, she told me her ice cream was so good, it was going to knock my dick in the dirt. And I said, we are going to be friends.
I mean, we're all about the dirty dicks on the show. I'm not ice cream.
Oh, I can't. Okay. I was gonna segue that into Bardown Breakdown, but that's mean. Speaking of dirty dicks, that's mean. No, one last cool thing that happened this week is that we have these fun new magnets. Little cool guy bear. But the only way you're gonna get these is if you order some merch. Or if you've already ordered some merch, take a picture of yourself wearing said merch and send it to us. Send it to us at SeltzerTimeOfficial@gmail.com. DM it to us in Seltzer Time. Text it to one of us if you have our numbers. We want to feature you guys on our website, and we want to feature you guys on social media because we are kind of tired of looking at ourselves.
It's true. We look fine, but, there's kind of a lot of us going around.
Right. Well, and this is the community. This is more than just Ricky and I, and we know you guys listen. You guys are fantastic, so we want to put you guys on the spot.
And at the end of the day, you all just look so much better than we do.
You look so good today. I like what you did with your hair.
I know you're not.
No, that was to the listener. That wasn't to you. That was to you, the listener.
All right, this one also goes out to the listener. Everybody listening right now, I just want you to know that aside from Giselle DMing us, your mirrors actually DM us every single day and say, "Damn, this is the best we've ever looked." and it's only after you guys walk by them. It's super weird. And yeah, mirrors don't have thumbs, but guess what? They can still DM. So just be very lucky that you all have, quote unquote, the most beautiful mirror of all time. Go look at it. You'll see.
Yeah. And in the meantime, enjoy our interview with the Bardown Breakdown guys.
Two gentlemen who have possibly the best looking mirrors of all time.
What is cracking, Fizzle Fiends? This week on the show, we are talking to Tom and Mikey, hosts of Bardown Breakdown. What is happening, gentlemen?
Feeling good. Nice 1-0 victory over the Boston Bruins. So we're
rubbing it in.
We're ready to rock.
I didn't even realize that the Bruins were playing the Islanders today until like this morning. I was like, oh, wow, we really fucking nailed that.
We would have been like really sad or as you can see, really happy. So at least you got Tom in a good mood.
Luckily it was a 5:30 or 5 o'clock start or something. Cause if it was right now, it would be funny to record this while we were both watching our respective teams play each other.
It would be a watch along. That would have been interesting.
I love that 5 o'clock start though. I kind of want to move to the West Coast just so I can always have like 5 o'clock games.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
The best. It works out great for like my girlfriend was doing stuff, so I can kind of watch the game and then we can hang out, like eat dinner and watch a couple episodes of, we're watching Silicon Valley right now, but works out great.
Yeah, me and my fiance are rewatching Sons of Anarchy. So like it's I should say my fiance is rewatching it. I'm watching it technically for the first time, like in continuity. I've watched it like on cable here and there, and like an episode in the 4th season, an episode in the 6th season, but I'm watching it all the way through, and man, it's gripping me like crazy. It's like every time Ron Perlman comes on screen, I'm always like, that is an ugly dude. That guy is ugly. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry, Ron Perlman, if you're listening. If you like Seltzer, I hope you're listening. But if you are listening, I'm sorry they called you ugly, but you're kind of an ugly dude.
I'm sure he knows it.
Empirically, he knows that he's an ugly dude.
He doesn't play like the super soft characters. He always plays some like badass. He was Hellboy. Come on.
Yeah, he was Hellboy, right? Exactly. I mean, it's just his face, man. He's got this like big like face and this humongous jaw. And I don't know, man. He's just ugly dude. God bless him though.
Bless his heart.
I totally dropped the ball and I don't have a can of seltzer and I'm like having anxiety about it. Like, how did I not do that?
I just drank a seltzer, so I usually don't drink during the week, but I figured while we're recording, I'd have a beer. I'm drinking a basketball. So the Celtics.
You're drinking a basketball?
I'm drinking basketball. The Celtics and Jack Savvy teamed up for a collaboration, and I meant to not open this until we started recording, just because it has like the same effect, but I opened it early. We can dump one in later.
I had coffee and it's gone. So clearly you guys are fans of hockey and you guys are fans of pop culture. And for people that don't know, you guys are also fans of music. But for our listeners that aren't familiar with your show, what is Bardown Breakdown?
Yeah. So pretty much Bardown Breakdown was a concept that Mikey had cultivated a couple of years back. He had brought it to me. And to be honest with you, I kind of blew him off. He was like, hey, man, like there's this real connection between hockey and music. And I think we could start a podcast and kind of explore it and see, what we can do with it. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't have the time for it. I don't think there's any reality in it. So Mikey ended up teaming with his pal, Devin from Yes Men Outfitters. And you guys probably ran through about 35 episodes. And then so Yes Men Outfitters, just to let you guys know, is a really, really great, Islanders based alternative hockey company off of Long Island. Great merch. If you get a chance, go check it out. And it just came to a point where Dev just got enveloped in the clothing company, which, took off. And Mikey kind of came back to me and he was like, hey, this is our body of work so far. Remember when you told me it wasn't going to work? And I was like, well, yeah, egg on my face. So I ended up joining up and, And now we're 100 episodes deep now. But really what we do is, we get, guests from the alternative music world to, come on and talk to us a little bit about their upbringing in music, and how it correlates to their love for hockey. And we've had a lot of great conversations with musicians from the United States, Canada. We even had our homie from We Set Signals, which is this great post-hardcore band from Australia. He's a huge hockey fan. It's kind of wild that we've had an opportunity to explore this avenue and talk to guest after guest, some bands that are huge, some bands that are just up and coming, and just getting to talk about hockey. It's probably, the most incredible thing that's happened to me in this pandemic, other than getting a puppy. But I think that kind of encapsulates Bardown Breakdown. But Mikey, I'll kind of throw it to him just because, we call ourselves co-hosts, but in reality, Mikey does a lot of the behind the scenes work and all the editing. So I'll kind of let him talk about some of the painstaking stuff.
All of it. Like the fact that social media platforms just can't all have the same size, and you have to create a different graphic for literally every platform. Just makes me want to pull my hair out.
Wait, how many different graphics are you generating? That's interesting. Let's start there. Cause truthfully, how the sausage is made, I do a lot of our graphics and editing and stuff like that too. So I only generate 2 thumbnails. I generate a box one and then one sized for YouTube. What other ones do you have to generate?
So then for Twitter, so that it's like horizontal for Twitter, then vertical for Instagram stories. It's a mess.
Mikey, I'm learning. See, I knew I was going to learn some stuff tonight, and I knew there would be some information sharing between us, but this is fantastic.
Yeah, there's an awesome free program. This is not a paid ad. It's just made my life so much easier. It's called Canva.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Yeah. It's the best.
But what makes it so good to you?
Just how easy it is, because I am definitely not a graphic designer. I'm a 4th grade teacher by trade. So I knew nothing about editing podcasts, nothing about creating graphics, and here we are. That's pretty much all I do over the weekend.
I didn't realize that you guys made all your graphics through Canva. That's fantastic.
Yep.
I have a love-hate relationship with Canva because, well, as a traditionally trained graphic designer, I do find it a little irritating how easy they make it, and how at a certain point, it feels like it's coming after my livelihood. But at the end of the day, so was MS Paint, so was fucking MS Word. So I'm not really scared anymore. I think it's a fantastic tool for independent creators that don't have budgets, that really just want to get the damn thing done. It's a tool. It's a tool to be used. And a lot of times what happens is people get to a certain point where they're like, all right, we've ran this ship as long as it's going to sail. It's time to take a look, and we maybe have some assets now. We maybe have some, space to invest. And that's when they kind of reassess their design or their branding and move up from there. Maybe they'll work with a professional. Maybe they won't. Doesn't matter. It's we live in the future now, so it doesn't really matter. We're all going to be replaced by robots.
Touche. Yeah, so I do have to just point out that I did not make our logo in Canva. So I did go to a graphic designer for that. One of my buddies that does some Islanders stuff. So
very cool.
Yep.
I dig the branding. I mean, I think you guys are effective, and I like how it's consistent. I definitely enjoy your images. I was flipping through today to refamiliarize myself with your account.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about the simplicity of the logo that we ended up deciding on. And I think the real good thing about that is it translates to pretty much anything. So we put it on water bottles, we put it on stickers, we've put it on t-shirts and stuff, which is great. But also the nice thing about it is I think that as our brand grows, people are starting to slowly but surely associate our logo with us. So, we've got that, okay, here's our logo, and that's Bardown. So it's kind of cool. My when we ended up launching the shirts, my fiance bought one, and she wears it pretty much almost every other day. anytime she goes out, like she just went actually out to we take our puppy to training classes, and she wore it out today, and she's like, look what I'm wearing. And I'm like, fantastic. I hope all the cool dog moms in there will listen to our podcast. So if you're out there, cool dog moms. But yeah, I think that's one of the great things about it. And I really, like I said, I wish I could say that like I really do a lot more for the podcast, but really my acumen is more in just, a lot of the music stuff. And that's kind of like what I feel like I bring to the table the most, just because I'm such a music nut. Like I've been for all my life. I mean, Mikey could tell you like, back in 9th grade when I was like 14, I already had like a CD book of like 200 CDs. And like, I was just like,
I have a giant bin over here.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding you. My girlfriend was not exactly stoked that I decided to bring with me, but I still have all of my CDs.
So my CD booklet is somewhere in Virginia, in Richmond, with my buddy JR, who I grew up with. I don't remember how he procured. I think actually what happened was I was in this punk band called Ink and Lead, and we went on like a mini tour down to Florida and back. Yeah, it's a hot water music reference because we love hot water music so much. But so we went down to Florida and back on like this little mini tour, and I'm pretty sure I left it in the van, and then he ended up like scooping it up, and he kept it with him on Long Island for, I guess, a couple of years because I had, I never needed it. And then when he moved to Richmond, he took it with him. So, every time we talk, he's always like, I still got your CD booklet. I got to send it to you. And I'm like, and I'm talking like it's like a humongous binder. So like if he tries to send it to me in the mail, half of them are going to break. But I've got some gems in there, man. I've got some like, and I was one of those nerds who like, instead of keeping the jewel cases, I took the booklet out and I would put it in the sleeve and then disc behind it. And I'm the same way with my records. Like every record I have is like, I used to label them all. I'm not getting that crazy now, but like every record I buy comes out of the plastic into a dust sleeve. If it's a used record, I make sure that if it doesn't have an insert, I, put my own insert in it. I'm just a nut like that.
Are you cleaning them yet?
Oh yeah. Like, pretty much every time I spin one, I got a little brush and I make sure to brush it off before I take it off the turntable. This is like the first time that I'm actually listening to records like a lot. I was really collecting back then, but now I'm really enjoying the fidelity and like listening to them, and it's great. But I don't know how we got onto that.
It's all right. Let's keep rolling. My best friend, truthfully, my best friend loves listening to records, and I find it fascinating. And I love that it's kind of bringing this shit back. Even tapes, like you see hardcore bands selling tapes nowadays.
Hell yeah.
And they're selling them for like $5, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But they take so much more care. And I think that's also fascinating. And it kind of like shows, I don't know if it's millennials' appreciation for things or if it's just understanding that media is dying and we're all trying to stay handheld to tactile as much as possible.
Oh yeah.
But like, are you buying hardcore tapes? You guys buying punk tapes?
Not as much. I mean, I'll speak for Mikey just because he's a one sentence guy. He's out of the vinyl game. He's long out of it. He sold all his records. So I'm the only one that's really deep in it. As far as tapes and stuff, no, I wouldn't say I'm there. I never really got into tapes just because I'm a fidelity guy. And of course, like, the sound quality on cassette is pretty yikes. And then of course, trying to find a cassette player these days is also tough, but
not that hard. I just bought one off of Amazon.
Oh, did you? Okay, fair enough. I didn't know.
I'm just saying. I thought it would be more challenging. Truthfully, I was with you, and then I did a Google, like I was like, holy shit, $15? Yeah, okay,
that's great. I mean, the first thing I ever owned to listen to music was a Walkman, and when I got into this kind of music, I even still had my Walkman, and I would, as ridiculous as this sounds, I would have CDs and I would tape off of the CDs onto cassettes so that I could listen to the cassettes when I was on the go, only because my parents didn't want to buy me like a Discman. Then when they finally bought me a Discman, they bought me one of those Sony Gold Discman that had like the skip protection. So I would ride my bike to school. And like one memory I have, which I've told Mikey like a million times, is when I was 11th grade. And I remember this because I was going to my math regents or like something stupid like that. I don't know what it was, but I had just bought Under Oath, They're Only Chasing Safety. And I popped it in the CD player and like listened to it on the ride to the Regents and like paused it and then took my Regents and then summarily put it back on and listened to it on the way home. And that actually, funny story, which I'll have Mikey tell you next real quick, is how Mikey blasted the windshield of his Jeep.
True story.
I think you should tell this story. Yeah.
So Tom and I go way back, as you could tell.
Clearly. Yeah.
And so our high school did this kind of corny thing where it was like a variety show, but it was like, for some reason, such a big deal in our high school. Like if you were picked to be like one of the MCs of the variety show, like you weren't necessarily like the popular kid, but you were just kind of like the cool guy that kind of got along with all the different groups of people. And
you had clout.
Yeah, whatever that word means, but yeah, sure. So Tom and I ended up being MCs, and we had a friend who actually goes on to study filmology, or what was it called? Videography, cinematography, whatever. Works for ABC.
He has a lot
News.
of clout.
Yeah. And he was like huge into just like filming everything that happened in high school, like literally always walking around with a video camera. And he decided to do like these little skits before the variety show. And do you remember like carpool karaoke was like a big deal?
Oh, yeah.
Not like the redone version with the British guy that does it now, but like back in the day, like
James
2000.
Corden,
yeah, James Corden.
Yeah.
Before him, like 2003, it was also like on regular cable. And we decided, like, wouldn't it be funny if we did like carpool karaoke, but with like Under Oath? So like we're like driving around, like looking all casual, and then like pop on like Under Oath, and we're all just like losing our minds in my Jeep Wrangler. And Tom had this acoustic guitar, and I was just like, took it out and smashed it on like the corner of like, you know, like the Jeep Wrangler bars that like kind of, like the roll bars or whatever. And I smashed the guitar on that, but then it also, like, I guess the pressure of that also shattered my windshield, and drove around with a shattered windshield for like years.
You just left it. Was
Just
the video awesome?
Actually, I don't even think it made the variety show, right? Like, I think it was like a B-roll.
It definitely was. I mean, the footage was fantastic. And just of note, just so everyone knows, I think I've probably said this before, but I'm going to say it now, and I'm going to incriminate myself. But that guitar that you smashed actually belonged to our high school. So we had like a guitar ensemble in our high school, and we had like 15 like terrible like Gibson classical guitars, like not even Gibson, and like probably like First Act or some bullshit. And we definitely took one, and that definitely was the one that got smashed. So if our old principal hears about this, she's apparently we're gonna owe her like $100, or probably not even $100, but like $20.
Has like anyone ever had that experience of like smashing a guitar?
I was literally just thinking it's something I've always wanted to do.
Right? Like I always wanted to do it too. And like Tom just was sitting there, and like we didn't plan it or anything. I was just like, you know what? I'm smashing this guitar. I don't even care if he's mad at me. And just grabbed it and smashed it, and it felt awesome. So I
Ricky,
could
have
say
you
that
smashed a
I've done
guitar?
that.
I don't think I've ever smashed a guitar. When I worked at SJC, I used to smash like defective drum shells, but that's the closest thing to a guitar that I've ever smashed.
What do you mean you smashed defective drum shells? What does that mean?
You'd get in like these giant tubes, and you'd cut shells out of that basically. But some of them would cut like wonky, or like edges would be weird. And they pretty much just let me go absolutely insane on the Snapchat, which is like where Seltzer Time was born. So I would just like take all these different videos, like screaming anarchy and just throwing drum shells around, and kids loved it. It was great.
That is punk rock.
Something like that. Wait, so did both of you guys play in bands growing up, or?
Really, it was just me. Mikey's not very much the musical type, although at said variety show that we were talking about, he did stand behind me and sway back and forth a bunch. So unfortunately and very tragically, we lost a friend of ours in high school, and to pay tribute to him, there was a Counting Crow song, Colorblind, I'm sure you're familiar with, and Between the Buried and Me did this like really haunting rendition of it, and we decided to kind of make a version of it and do it as a tribute to him at a variety show. And so it was like a small ensemble of people, and then the first night it was just maybe 5 or 6 of us, but the second night of this variety show we had like a bunch of people like get on stage and kind of stand behind us, and Mikey was one of those people, and he was standing like right behind me, just like swaying back and forth. And the whole idea was like everyone was kind of going to sing the chorus, but Mikey, being too nervous to do that, he just swayed a bunch. He just like swayed back and forth. And
hell yeah, man!
But if you sway, you got to sway. You got to sway.
This variety show was 2 nights.
I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Like when we try to explain like Long Island to people, they're like, that doesn't exist. But then when we try to explain where we went to high school, they're like, no, that also does not exist.
Sadly, I mean, the fact that your high school you guys play Bit-A-Bam is first off rad as hell. But secondly, a 2-night variety,
yeah, it was. It really was something else. So the first band I ever was a part of in high school, like we ended up playing that variety show. But for me personally, like I've kind of dabbled. I've played in a couple of different bands, really just drums and everything. But Ink and Lead was a punk band that I was in, which I had a blast with. I was in a post-hardcore band called Survivor's Guilt for a couple of years, which I loved. Most recently, I was in a kind of a power pop band called Who Are the Toms, with some guys from Long Island. We were all named Tom.
I was going to say, you please tell me you were all named Tom.
So yeah, we were originally called the Toms, which was like perfect, but there's like some like band from the 70s called the Toms, and they actually reached out to us and they were like, hey, you can't be called the Toms. And we were like, okay, well, I guess. So we ended up calling ourselves Who Are the Toms.
Those guys definitely were not even named Tom. Like,
probably definitely not. But we very much were all named Tom. And then I had a couple of other projects. My really good friend Sal, he and I started kind of a studio project called Concrete Houses. So I've done a bunch of stuff and I've always loved it. But the thing that I probably
he was in a restaurant. Oh, yeah. Is that where you're going?
That's exactly where I'm going. Go. So the most fun I've probably ever had playing music, I was in a wrestling themed cover band called the Kings of the Ring. So
yes.
So to give you the insight about it, we all dressed up, we all wore costumes. One of the guys in the band was like super jacked. He was actually training to be a professional wrestler. So if you're familiar with wrestling, he would wear the Scott Steiner chainmail.
Nice.
And he would like cut the Scott Steiner promos. But pretty much what we did was we would pick a bunch of different wrestling themes. So the themes that wrestlers would walk from the entrance ramp to the ring to, like Hulk Hogan's Real American, the Ultimate Warrior, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all that kind of stuff. So we played stuff from like the old days all the way up to like new school themes for, like Randy Orton, John Cena, and all these guys. But it was a blast, and it was a very niche market because it was people that loved wrestling that didn't necessarily care about like music, but would come to these shows, and of course, like they'd hear their favorite wrestler's theme song, and they would go nuts. And I mean, we did insane things. We put people through tables. We had ladders, chair shots, and notoriously, I mean, it's insane. Like notoriously, the last song of every set, we do Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme, and our lead singer would go into the crowd and do the whole beer bath thing, and he would just pour beers on his head. He would give people in the crowd Stone Cold Stunners. It was literally a blast. It's one of the biggest regrets I have for moving to Florida. I love my fiance to death. Ultimately we made the right move, but leaving that project behind like broke my heart because I mean it took like 2 of the 3 things I love most in this world. I love music, I love hockey, and I love wrestling. So it took 2 of those 3 and mashed them together and made me a little bit of money. So, I mean, like, it doesn't get better than that.
No. When I was out with real friends, they would walk on stage to the DX theme.
Excellent. Love that.
I didn't know them when we first went out, and all of a sudden I heard that coming from inside, and I was like, what the fuck is going on in there? It's like, open the door and it's the DX theme as like the guys come walking out. Like, hell yeah. every other night we were kind of all in the same room, and they would come out to the DX theme, and then they changed it like 3 times. They kept the DX theme except for 3 different nights, and I was so bummed when they came out to like a Miley Cyrus song one night. In Chicago, they came out to Fall Out Boy, which is kind of wild. And then I forget what the other one was. In Texas, they came out to a George Strait song, which I thought was pretty funny. But every other night was DX. I was like, fuck, it was the coolest part of the whole night.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, and that's another thing. And I always tease Mikey about it. But like, so, as we explore the parallels of alternative music and hockey, there is a tremendous parallel between alternative music and wrestling. So much so that, the Code Orange and Incendiary, camp came together to create a theme for like a WWE wrestler. And they've done a lot of really cool stuff. So this wrestler, his name is Aleister Black. And I shouldn't say that. So really it was these guys who are good friends of mine, CFOs, who were creating all of the themes for other wrestlers for a short time in WWE, created this theme for Aleister Black and had the singer of Incendiary on it. And then when they replicated it live, it was Code Orange as the backing band with the singer of Incendiary. I think his name is Brendan, if I'm not mistaken, but super cool. I mean, so there's definitely a parallel there, but Mikey will not let me explore it. Like he'll give me like, if I know that we have a wrestling fan on, he'll give me like 30 seconds of levity. And then like on second 31, he's like, no one cares about this. It's kind of like, if you're a New York sports fan, how Carton would always say, nobody cares about Hockey Boomer. So that's kind of what Mikey does to me. He's like, nobody cares about wrestling, Tom. So I have to always eat my stuff back. It's a bummer.
That's awesome. I know nothing about wrestling post like 2004, probably. It's the last time I paid attention.
Yeah,
but
like most normal people stop watching wrestling when they're like 10.
Yeah, I mean, so says you, man. But wrestling is one of those things where it's like, as an adult, you watch it for a different reason. Like when you're growing up, you watch it as like a child and you think it's real, and you watch it because I loved Bret Hart. Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler when I was growing up. So anytime Bret Hart was on screen, I was a little 8-year-old kid just like cheering for Bret Hart on my mom's sofa, like watching these pay-per-views through like a scrambler box and all that stuff. And then when you grow up, and when I got back into it, I started watching wrestling more for like the athleticism around it and more for the like kind of like the pageantry and all that kind of stuff. And you almost watch it. They call you like a smart fan or some bullshit like that, but it's really just like you kind of watch and try to figure out why they're booking this show and why they're having this guy win and this guy lose and what kind of story they're trying to tell. It's cool. I mean, I know Mikey dogs on it, and I get it.
Yeah, here we are trying to sell our podcast. All these people that listen to Seltzer Time are like, dude, I'm not checking out Bardown Breakdown. They talk about wrestling.
I'll be honest,
what's up with that?
We have a wrestling audience here.
Wrestling audience.
And truthfully,
you have to say that
here in Worcester, there is an independent wrestling like league that is garnering tons of attention. They're called Beyond Wrestling.
Oh yeah, I know about Beyond Wrestling for sure.
They film 10 minutes from my house.
Yep. Yeah.
The bar I used to work at was on the same street of the venue they'd film in. So before and after the bar, and like I did not work at a bar that made any sense for like, I guess, wrestling fans to come to, but it was mostly regulars, but they'd come in, they'd all meet up and have like 2 beers. Then they'd all walk down to the wrestling like thing and then come back after. And it was insane. And they'd be talking about it. And like, guys, I don't know. Like, I don't even know like who was on the WWE now. Never mind like who just fought down the street. But
it would have been incredible, Ricky, to see an outdoor wrestling match in the back of the dive bar. Like, you said the words dive bar wrestling, and I'm like, oh man, that would have been so like a wrestling.
So anyway. Talking about dive bar wrestling real quick, and then I promise you I will get off my wrestling horse because Mikey is literally like jonesing right now. But Fest in Gainesville. Are you guys familiar with? I'm sure you are familiar with Fest. So a couple of years ago, Fest started up their own promotion called Fest Wrestling, and they did Fest Wrestling in the middle of I forget the name of it now. I would think it was called 8 Seconds. It was like one of the bigger venues, and it was like an actual like dive bar, cowboy bar. And they would have, Friday they had, a 7 or 8 bands play. Saturday, 7 or 8 bands play. And then Sunday, they put up a ring, and they actually had like independent wrestlers and did the whole thing. They filmed it, the whole 9 yards. It was great. It was a ton of fun. But yeah, like in the middle of this like gross dive bar, just a ring and like guys, beating the crap out of each other. It was it was wild, but that is real in wrestling. Like there's still to this day, there are companies that, set up backyard wrestling. Like people think that was like a thing of the past with like Jeff Hardy, diving off of the roof of a house into his mattress, but like there's still backyard wrestling, there's still all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's like, and it's big. And it's the sad part is there's even like backyard wrestling going on right now, like non-socially distant backyard wrestling, which is like disgusting to watch because there's a bunch of idiots just like spreading COVID amongst one another. But like, it's still happening. So wrestling is one of those things, man, where it's just like, it's got such a niche alternative audience, and it's always going to have that audience, and like it's never going to go away. So as much as you'd love to think it, Michael, wrestling's not going anywhere. I'm sorry, buddy.
Much like hockey and much like rock and roll, it's here to stay.
Very true. And speaking of hockey and rock and roll,
like your podcast that has just reached 100 episodes. You felt the segue. You felt it.
Yeah, I'm usually the segue guy on our podcast because like we'll go off somewhere and then I'll be like, well, how the hell am I gonna? What am I?
That whole time
here?
I'm like, all right, I got to find a thread somewhere. We can connect this. We can.
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
why I just tell Tom to shut up.
You're a jerk. But yeah, we're very, very pumped on the 100th episode that we've got going on. We've got an awesome guest. We're doing a really cool giveaway, and I'll let Mikey tell you about it just because he's the more eloquent one of us. So tell him what we got.
Yeah, we got our boy Derek from State Champs. And honestly, when the whole idea of Bardown came to mind, it was when I was still living on Long Island and I was playing like pickup hockey. And I was friends with some of the guys in the band Envy on the Coast, and they would call their friends who were also in bands, and then like these guys would show up to play hockey, like in skinny jeans, like the typical like scene dude, but then actually like be really good at hockey. So it'd be like an oxymoron. Like it didn't make sense. And then like, I was like, man, all these guys like are really good at hockey and actually really like hockey. And I was like, there's a huge crossover. And then like, I was kind of going through and I was like, man, actually there is like, Kellen from The Story So Far is a big San Jose Sharks fan, and like Derek from State Champs, big Dallas Stars fan. And it was just like going through and I was like, man, I got like 50 dudes that like I really want to get on like to talk about music and hockey. And Derek was always like one of those bucket list guys, like need to get Derek on. And when we started getting close to the 100th episode, I was like, that'd be a sweet way to celebrate like 100 episodes of like nonsense between Tom and I talking music and hockey. And it ended up working out. Like the planets aligned, and he's coming on, and we're so stoked.
That's so sick. Did you guys have a prior relationship with him or anybody in that band, or was it just mutual connection?
So it's so funny. I actually lived in Albany for like 4 years, and that's where they're from, but like never really ran in the same circles. But then through this podcast, we've kind of just built a cool little community where we stay in contact with a lot of our former guests. And, one of the former guests that we had on, our buddy Alex, is also friends with Derek, and he hooked it up.
That's so sick.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, State Champs is cool. That's a band I've seen probably a million times open for like the Wonder Years and all that type of stuff. When I was super heavy going to shows, they were kind of like coming up. So they were always one of the first 2 bands to play, and they always killed it. But yeah, the only thing I really remember about them was like him being such a huge hockey fan. And then that band exploded. Now they're massive and they have huge hockey following.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how quick they've blown up. And you know, in the pop punk scene, a lot of bands have gone like the pop direction.
Yeah.
As they've put out, you know, album number 2, album number 3, but State Champs has kind of stayed true to their pop punk roots, and they're kind of carrying the torch right now, and it's cool to see. And you know, we actually had the pleasure of talking to Chuck from Simple Plan, and he was telling us this just crazy story about how he was in a restaurant by himself in Dallas before one of their shows, and like Jamie Benn walked in, and like, you know, Chuck, being a big hockey fan, was like, man, you're Jamie Benn. Like, you know, I'm in this band Simple Plan if you want to come. And like, Jamie Benn was so pumped and actually went to the show. But on that show was also State Champs. And like, Derek went and like performed on stage and then came to the green room, and like there was Jamie Benn, and he, you know, Derek lost his mind. So I'm super pumped to hear like what was going through his mind when he walked in and there's like one of his favorite players.
Yeah, it's like kind of one of the things we always talk about for us personally is, you know, we get the opportunity to talk to, you know, these fantastic musicians and all these bands that we like. And like, you know, sometimes, even though, you know, we've learned to hold it together, sometimes you get a little bit starstruck, you know, that you're talking to like someone that, you know, you've listened to all their music and stuff. But it's funny because as lovers of music that get starstruck with musicians, a lot of these musicians get starstruck with hockey players. So I mean, like, you think like, you know, the hundreds of kids out there that, you know, if they met Derek from State Champs would be like, oh my God, like, you know, I'm meeting Derek from State Champs, and then here he is running into Jamie Benn and, you know, like kind of being a ridiculous fanboy himself, you know? So it's just like, it just kind of further proves the fact that, you know, hockey, even though it's the quote unquote the fourth sport, you know, so many people love it and you know have idolatry for these guys because they're just such great athletes and they're doing such a good job at you know, being out there and playing and performing and stuff. So it really super cool. So I love, you know, whenever we hear that, you know, of, you know, an artist that I love is like, oh yeah, you know, I ran into this hockey player and didn't know what to say. And it's like, shit, man, like that's what I do. Like when I run into musicians, I don't know what to say. So kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, I've met people from almost every band that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And I've never really been like super starstruck. And then I met Matt Boleski, who, like, he had just signed with the Bruins. I loved him when he was in Anaheim, and it was the most nervous I've ever been, having to like talk to somebody and like keep my cool. So I got to give him like a tour of our shop, and the whole time I was like, holy shit, like this guy has scored. I mean, he was never like the biggest player, but he scored like some pretty epic goals in Anaheim, and I loved what he brought to the table for the Bruins the first like season and a half, and then he kind of went down. But I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, but I was so nervous. I'm like, dude, this guy plays in the NHL. Like that's a whole different world. And then I bumped into him like 4 years after that, before a Pearl Jam show at Fenway Park. And we just happened to be at the same bar, and I'm looking at him like, I'm pretty sure that's Matt Boleski. It was him and Jimmy Hayes. Wait, no. Which one played for
Harvard?
One of the Hayes brothers, yeah, Kevin Hayes plays in Philly, right now?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was Jimmy Hayes. So they happened to be going to the Pearl Jam show. We're at the exact same bar, and I was like, holy shit, like Jimmy Hayes and Matt Boleski right there. And I walked by, and Boleski was like, hey, aren't you the drum kid? And I was like, oh shit. It was like the coolest moment of my life. I text my buddy Josh that I used to work with. I was like, you are not going to believe who I just saw. And the fact that he even like remembered this one time that happened.
Dude, I have a pretty funny starstruck moment too with a hockey player. So I was at a preseason Islanders game. So like that's usually when they only dress half their normal roster, and then they, you know, let some like professional tryout people come on, and like guys that are never going to make the team. So I'm up in like the luxury box area. My ticket rep just like hooked me up with tickets up there. And the way that the luxury section works at the Coliseum is it's like a whole separate upper bowl that like is only for people that have luxury boxes. And Matt Martin was in a box like kind of catty corner to us. And like you could see him like across the way. And like, in order for us to like walk out at the end of the game, we kind of had to like merge at the same place. And like Matt Martin's walking by and I'm just like, hey, Matt, glad you came. Like that was the what I thought was the appropriate thing to say to someone that plays on the team. Like that's what he probably should have said to me. Like, hey, glad you came to this preseason hockey game. But I thought that's what I should say to him. And to this day, my friends are just like, hey, Matt Martin, glad you came. Dumb.
Last January, I went to the Bahamas and Brad Marchand got on our plane. Also going to the Bahamas, but like, I don't know where he stayed or anything. But we got on our plane, we're sitting there, and some of the last people to get on, it must have been like his wife or something, their kids, and then Marchand. And as he's walking down the aisle, I'm like, holy shit. So I like get up, turn around to my girlfriend's brother, and I was like, dude, Brad Marchand's walking down the aisle. I'm almost 100% sure. And he kind of like looked around me and he was like, holy shit. So I turned around, didn't know what to do. And I was just like, I like gave him the head nod and he just kind of looked at me and kept going. Makes sense. Too nervous to be like, hi, I fucking love you. Like,
you know, these guys they play a game. Like they're just old boys that play a game. No. What I'm saying is don't be starstruck. They're cool. They're just people.
No, actually hockey players are just awesome. It's just like, since hockey is my number one sport, it's just like, you know, I spend so many hours every single week watching these, you know, guys play hockey that when you like do cross paths, you just like don't know, like you want to get everything out and you want to like just let them know how much you appreciate them. And then you just freeze up and you say something stupid. And it's awesome.
Glad he came.
That's great.
Have you guys had a hockey player, like a pro hockey player on the podcast yet?
Yeah,
we have a few.
Yeah, we have a few. We had we had Chris Dingman, which was so awesome. He where was he? He was at like, I forget where he was. He was like at his kid's like practice or like a pickup game or something. And he just like was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll chat with you guys for like an hour and a half. What?
Yeah. But he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Yeah. That was cool. We've also talked to John Morasti, who played in the AHL, and he played like 1 or 2 games for Columbus, but his big thing is he was called Nasty Morasti in the AHL, and he was just like a goon. And there's actually a crazy YouTube video you can find of him and Jeremy Yablonsky beating up a whole entire Russian gang when they were playing in the KHL. Like, it is unbelievable. There's like 15 Russian dudes, and then Yablonsky and Morasti just beating them all up.
On the ice or outside? Outside
at a bar. So apparently, like, actually, Jeremy Yablonsky was on Spit and Chicklets not too long ago, maybe like 2 months ago. Okay. And he told the story way better than I'm telling it right now. So if you want to listen to it, you can.
I mean, it's there, but
but apparently the reason they were even at the bar is because Panarin invited them. So this is like when Panarin was still playing in the KHL, and he was like, hey, like, I'm going to this club. Come meet me out. And like, they got to the club and Panarin wasn't there yet. And then they just beat up a bunch of Russian people out in the street.
Pass some time.
Just to pass some time.
Yeah, man.
That's
so we had that guy on our podcast too. Which was
Have you guys found a crossover, like a hockey player that's in a band? That must exist.
They do exist, like, because Lundqvist is in a band, but yeah, but they're like usually into like country music or just classic rock. They're not typically into alternative music that we talk about. There are a few, like, I'm pretty sure Aaron Dell, that goalie who was on the Sharks, and I think the Devils just picked him up like today, actually. He's big into the alternative music. You know, Corey Crawford has the famous Rise Against story that he got like really, really hurt at a Rise Against show. And like the Blackhawks were like super mad about it because he hurt himself in the mosh pit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, like, well, I know Boleski was a huge fan of like Rancid and Every Time I Die. I think the night after, not the night that like I saw him at the Pearl Jam show, but the night that he came to like pick stuff up, he was going to see, it was either Every Time I Die or it was when Brandon from Rancid was playing with H2O. It was one of those two bands that playing in Boston. He was going to that. I saw Tuukka Rask at a Black Keys. Not that they're like alternative rock, but he was at a Black Keys concert.
There they are.
Each other.
What about
Ryan O'Reilly
themed?
too?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, right. No, Ryan O'Reilly's huge too. He was a big Spill Canvas fan, and when we were talking to Bryce from the Spill Canvas, he was saying that Ryan O'Reilly actually like showed up at one of his shows, and he's become good friends with him. Like, so to this day, he's good friends with Ryan O'Reilly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you were just about to say, like, what about like hockey theme, like alternative bands? There's actually a couple.
The Zambonis are my personal favorite.
So, there's a couple that we've gotten to actually have on the show. I don't know if you'd say that they're necessarily hockey themed, but they're named after like they're named. Their name is hockey related. You know, we've talked to our buddies in this band called the Crease Rule, who are really great. There's a band infamously from Long Island that are an actual hockey themed punk band that we actually haven't had the opportunity to have on the show yet, but they're on our radar. They're called Two Man Advantage. And they actually like dress up in like full gear and pads, and like all of their songs are hockey related. So you know, they're definitely one of the
I love that
people that we want to get on. Oh, it's great. You know, any gimmick is great, you know, obviously. And
I once watched a band that was Harry and the Potters, and it was all about Harry Potter songs.
Oh, there was a band that they're called Oakley Dokley, and they all dress up as
I
Ned
love
Flanders.
that band.
Oh, I love it. I love that you know
Ned Flanders.
Yep. Oh yeah, dude. They have this song called White Wine Spritzer, which is like one of their like most infamous songs, and it's just all about how Ned Flanders loves white wine spritzers. And actually, that harkens back to me being in the Kings of the Ring, because tour package came through that was Oakley Dokley and Max Sabbath. So you know, if you're familiar with Max Sabbath, who are just, you know, Sesame Street, or I should say McDonald's characters playing Black Sabbath songs, but they were like, we need another weird gimmick band. So Kings of the Ring, you guys are perfect for this. But yeah, and the dudes for Oakley Dokley were dope. They're super cool dudes. But you know, like that's the whole thing. It's like having a gimmick. Like sometimes it works, sometimes not so much. But I mean, like, you know, Oakley Dokley is doing pretty good for themselves, and Max Sabbath is like huge. People come out to see them all the time. So I guess the whole idea is get a gimmick and, you know, flesh it out, figure it out.
Lay into a cut, like dig into a niche.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like if like you can go after like the Food Network crowd and just have like a bunch of like chefs just like in a band and just singing songs about like beef Wellington and like not taking like the puff pastry out of the oven like quick enough, or like, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about like Great British Baking Show.
I was literally just about to call it the Great British Punk Off or something like that. And you have me. I'll buy the ticket. Just tell me when to show up.
The Paul Hollywoods. Yeah, man, I'm way into that. Listen, I mean, you know, license to print money is, I think, what that is. License to print money.
All right. We should probably dig it right back to the podcast just before I fucked up and I forgot to go. I meant to wear this hat the entire time.
Ooh, the whale.
This is an old hat. This isn't some new one that now that the logo's in public domain. But like 100 episodes. First off, congratulations. That's insane. We know how challenging that is. Like, first, did you ever think you'd make it here?
No chance. Like, after I did like 2, I was like, I don't know if we're gonna keep doing this. Like, because it's more of like a steady incline with the podcast. Like, maybe your first episode, all your like friends who just want to support you will listen. Yep. So like your first episode, you're like, man, I got like a few hundred people that listen to this. Like, I'm on top of the world. And then episode 2 comes out and there's like 13 and you're like, wait, where did all those people go? But then like what I realized is like, stop thinking about that and just have fun, you know, getting to, you know, you're in your 30s. You don't get to talk to your friends that often. Like, it's just reality. Yeah. So like the fact that I get to talk with one of my best friends once a week for an hour, like I can't say that I get to do that with some of my other friends. So like, to me, I really just value that time. And then I also get to talk with some of the, you know, artists from my favorite bands. So, even if 2 people listen, I'm just going to keep doing it because I love to get to talk with Tom and talk to these bands. So as long as there's 2 people listening.
I mean,
my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, you guys have literally interviewed people from some of my favorite bands of all time. Evan from Into It Over It, or Evan as Into It Over. I never really know what to call him because he is into it over it, but like,
Yeah.
you know, Saves the Day. I'm trying to think. Like the Simple Plan one was awesome. I'm not a huge Simple Plan fan anymore, but when I was little, I saw them a million times. Chuck was this girl I went to high school with. I was best friends. That was like her celebrity crush. So one time we were all at Warped Tour, like well after we stopped listening to Simple Plan, and Chuck happened to be standing next to me, like doing an autograph signing thing. And I didn't even know that I was next to the Simple Plan tent. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. So I like text her. I'm like, hey, I just stood next to Chuck from Simple Plan. Like 10 years ago, you would have lost your mind. But like, so how, when it comes to like, do you guys only choose bands that like you're familiar with? Have you interviewed somebody whose band you've never really listened to prior to?
Yeah. A ton.
Not
actually.
me, maybe Tom.
So one of the things that like we've really tried to accomplish is, reaching out to bands who, are not as well known and that we don't know much about, just simply because they're hockey fans, and then getting to listen to their music and getting to kind of learn kind of how they built their craft and stuff is one of the things we love the most. I guess for me, I could probably say that Mikey's not into the heavier stuff as much as I am. So a lot of the times when we get in with a heavier band, I'm not saying that Mikey's going in blind, but like I'm going in with a little bit more comfortability there, just because, like for instance, with like a band like August Burns Red, like, I've listened to August Burns Red for years and years, the Ghost Inside, I love the Ghost Inside. We've had our buddies in Dr. Acula on, and like a bunch of different, like more aggressive bands, but mine and Mikey's dynamic growing up, like I was always the guy that knew just a little bit more about music than Mikey did. And like, I always like kind of prided myself on that. I was always like, yeah, this guy, Mikey, he's like riding my coattails, like every time I poop out a band, he's here to listen to it. And then when we started doing this podcast, I really started realizing that like Mikey like had more, like knew more about like pop punk and stuff than even I did. And then he started telling me about all these bands that I hadn't even heard of, so he's like, oh, check out this band. Like, so a lot of times when Mikey knew a lot about these bands, he was introducing them to me for the first time, which is awesome. So not only did it expand our horizons in terms of the music we listened to, but we got to have cool conversations with people from like all over the country. Like we got to talk to people from, Vancouver and Calgary and like all these places that like I've never been, let alone like have actually talked to someone from one of these places. So it's a really good dynamic. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I get actually a good amount of like submissions from bands, and like I don't want to be like the guy that like poo-poos on anyone's dreams. Like that's not my job. So like anyone that sends me anything, I listen to. Like I'm going to be completely transparent. Like I listen to it, and at this point, doing the show for 2 years, our schedule is pretty like intense. Like we are pretty backed up right now. So like sometimes a band just isn't quite there yet. And like, I just have to tell them like, hey, like I would love to talk with you guys, but I can't promise when. But like, I do listen to everything that's sent to us. Like I really do. Cause they're taking the time to send it to me. I'm going to listen to it at least.
For sure.
Nobody sends us shit. People should send us music. We'll listen to it. I will literally listen to everything you send me.
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, like
I'm so envious of that.
I mean, but it's great, because I spent a lot of my younger years like finding out about new music through like compilations and like, going to like mp3.com or Pure Volume and like all this kind of stuff where it was like kind of like scratching and clawing to find stuff. Whereas now, if I'm tired of listening to the same 50 bands that I listen to all over, all the time. Mikey's like, hey, I just secured an interview with this band. Oh, I've never heard of this band. Go check them out and give them a listen. Like I bring up the Crease Rule again, because that's one of these bands that like I had never even knew existed. And Mikey, had reached out to them. We had ended up setting up an interview, and he's like, you got to listen to these guys. And like, now they're on like repeat for me, and it's just having that opportunity, I think is like the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, man, like if you guys find musicians that love seltzer, which I'm sure you will, because I'm sure plenty of musicians love seltzer. I mean, like just that's what your podcast should just start being, the connection between music and seltzer. And like, I guarantee you, like before you realize it, like Mark Hoppus's people are going to be in touch with you. They're going to be like, guys, love what you're doing. Mark drinks like a case of seltzer every day. He wants to be on the show. And then
that's too much seltzer.
That's just, that is a lot of seltzer. That's a lot of,
from what I've seen online.
Dude, so I do want to bring this up because I listened to your 100th episode, and hearing people talk about shotgunning seltzers sounds
uncomfortable.
It sounds mental. Like, who does that?
Did you watch it or just listen to it?
I just listened to it.
If you watched it, there's a video of our friend Kevin biting into the side of a seltzer and then shotgunning it. He's an animal. He's not human. And you don't see the after effect, like the 15 minutes afterwards where they're burping uncontrollably or writhing on the ground in pain.
I've only shotgunned the seltzer twice in my life, and the first time it was with our buddy Lucas, who actually designed our logo. He was part of a mural festival in Worcester, and I went to like visit him at his wall. I brought him a seltzer, and he's like, "Oh, let's shotgun it for the video." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And like, I'm not a shotgun fan across the board. It's just not a thing I like to do. So I did it, but I'm not good at it because it's not a thing for me. But I left the can like upside down, so I opened it. It was like pouring out the side. It was pretty bad. And Lucas is like this. He's a very skinny man, and he's like kind of short. So inhaling all of that seltzer had him burping. Like, it was a very uncontrollably uncomfortable afternoon. It sucked. And then the other time I did it was with Lucas again at work at the dive one night because we thought it would be funny. It wasn't. Don't do it.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Because like the bubbles in seltzer are way more intense than like bubbles in beer.
Yeah, for sure.
And
if I was going to stock on it, it'd be a LaCroix, because LaCroix doesn't have as much carbonation as the other ones. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be the only way I can keep it down. But like Polar, our local brand, is hefty. Or even like Topo Chico, which has been my jam as of late. Like Topo Chico is bubbly. If you don't touch that glass bottle, that thing is going to stay bubbly forever. It's a mystery liquid. So yeah, that would destroy me.
Let's talk a little bit about Polar Seltzer while we get the opportunity to, because Polar is like my favorite like brand of seltzer. And it's in like, it's everywhere. Obviously it's down south, but like you can only find it at certain supermarkets. But I mean, like their orange vanilla is like one of my favorites. Like their black cherry, excellent. Tangerine lime, excellent. And then they had all these like weird flavors that they put out like for each season that are like really hard to find. Like there was this one winter one that was I think it was like Boston cream pie flavored.
Yeah, in the bottles.
Yeah, and believe it or not, it was dope. It was really good. And but it bums me out because like back when I lived in New York, like any supermarket you could walk into, like some had more than others, but like everyone would at least have some, right? Like even if you could only find like a couple of flavors, but like in Publix, I think for instance down in Florida, like I don't even think they're in there. Which is like I don't think so. I mean, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it's just the Publix. It's closest to me is like a smaller batch Publix, but I don't think they're everywhere.
Huh. They're growing their distribution. They are definitely permeating new markets, but it's slow. And I mean, if listeners of this show long have heard us complain about Polar not reaching out to us and how their marketing isn't as good as it can be, and how we wish they would look at the local market a little bit better. And but they know what they're doing. They're a big ass company and they're growing, and they make a lot of their money doing private label stuff for other people, doing other bottling. Like they bottle for Coke around here. And
Oh, okay, cool. That's cool.
so they don't need any help from a couple of bubble boys, I guess. Well, we've got about whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's just bring it home. How do people find your podcast? Like, I want to make sure people check out at least the 100th episode, if not all of them.
Before we do that,
Sorry.
I just want to touch on the Facebook group you guys just launched. Was it last week, I think?
Yeah.
That's the best idea ever. It's so sick.
Because
Having a place where, like, every time, I don't pay that close attention to Facebook, but like every time I have a notification, if it's like a couple different ones, there always tends to be something from the Facebook group now of like people introducing themselves or talking about the game from that night or whatever. Such a cool idea.
Yeah. And, I was kind of at that point where like, yeah, I need Facebook to like, put out content for our podcast, but also for like the stuff I do at Isles Meetup. So like, there wasn't really a way I could totally get rid of having Facebook. And I was like, I have it, but I hate this app. Like, I hate going on here and seeing like my racist uncle posting crap that just makes me mad. Like, I like how on Twitter I can like kind of control what I see, and like it was just really frustrating. And then I was like joining groups, and then as I was joining like these bigger pop punk groups on Facebook, everyone is like, hey, based on this picture, what band do I listen to? Like those like really corny like posts. And I kept getting notifications about this. And I was like, I don't want that either. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to create a group of like the two things I really only want to see. And that's music and hockey. So like, it is what we do on our podcast, but like, I don't want to just like use it as another way to push my podcast. I just want to talk music and hockey with like our listeners, with our other friends who, former guests, that kind of stuff. And we've only been doing it for like a week, and we have close to 200 people in the group already. And it's been a lot of fun. And I want because also in some of those pop punk groups that are on Facebook, like it's kind of poo-pooed if you share your music.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the point then? What is this group doing? I don't get it. Like, whatever. So I want the people that are in this group to share their music. And like, how cool is that? Like, just being able to kind of push out your music to people that actually want to see it. Yeah,
for sure. Oh, yeah. And then one more thing before we go. Each of you, what's your dream guest musician and your dream guest hockey player for you guys to have on the podcast someday?
Tom, do you still have one that's out there?
Oh, absolutely. So my dream guest is honestly it's Keith Buckley. I mean, like that's really the guy who I'd want the most, because I mean I'm positive he's a Sabres fan, and I'm sure that just knowing how much of a maniac he is, I'm sure he'd have a ton of incredible stories. So that's probably still my holy grail. And then as far as hockey players are concerned, I mean, I'd love to get an opportunity to chat with Lundqvist. He granted, he's been a lifelong Ranger, obviously, other than late, and hopefully he'll be able to come back healthy and be able to play. But I mean, he's such an interesting guy. He's a great guitar player. He's humble. I mean, his humility is incredible. And just as a player, I mean, he's the only Ranger that like haven't like had like an actual like issue with. Like, he's like the only guy that I could, it really broke my heart when the Kings beat the Rangers. Like, my heart broke for nobody but like my good friend Jimmy, who like was like on the ground sobbing, and for like Henrik Lundqvist. So those are my two. I'm interested to hear what Mikey's are.
Yeah. So honestly, after our 100th episode, I do feel like I need to make a new bucket list, I guess. But I guess the other one that's floating out there is Kellen from the story so far. Just, there's no doubt that I'm the pop punk guy, and like the story so far, I've loved every single album that they've put out. So I would love to talk with Kellen. And then hockey player, I guess, like, just because he's interested in this kind of music would probably be Ryan O'Reilly. Just because, you know, him going from Buffalo to St. Louis and then winning the cup with St. Louis, I feel like that story's awesome. And he's just like a glue guy, a great guy, the kind of hockey players that we all love. And honestly, like, who wouldn't want Ryan O'Reilly on their team? Like, I would take him in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And would be PJ Stock. I think we're trying to get PJ Stock on the show. You know, just because he played here in Worcester and he was just an all around son of a bitch that punched a lot of faces. And then probably like Run the Jewels, I think would be a humongous get. I don't know how much seltzer they drink. I think LP might sip a little bit, but.
Oh, they drink seltzer. They definitely drink seltzer.
I feel like you have to.
Right.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Man, now I'm kind of thinking like Action Bronson's got to be a hockey fan.
Oh yeah.
I would love to talk with him. And like, even though he's not like technically like alternative music, but he's like alternative hip hop, I guess you would say.
What is alternative music? That's what they lump everything that they can't put into pop or country.
True that. So yeah, I would love to talk to Action Bronson because his show, Fuck That's Delicious, is just amazing.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Do we know if is Dua a hockey fan?
From Bad Rabbits?
Yeah. Do you know?
I wore the Bad Rabbits shirt just for you guys.
Hell yeah. But I mean, like that's a guy I want to talk to. I'll never forget, man. It just, I've never laughed more than like seeing a Bad Rabbit show, because first of all, I mean, you know, we all know seeing a Bad Rabbit show is transformative enough just because of how great they are. But I mean, like the last time I remember seeing them, Dua was wearing a dashiki.
Yep.
So he's wearing a dashiki and he kept yelling at people for trying to rip his dashiki. So he said it like 4 times. Like, I don't know. They played like something, like they played dirty or something. And like after they're done, there's like a little bit of a pause. He's like, why is everyone trying to rip my dashiki? And he's like looking at people in the crowd. He's like, I saw you tried to do it. You did it. He's like, this white guy tried to do it. And then like, there's like a black guy in the crowd. He's like, I know that black guy didn't try to rip my dashiki. He's like, all you white people trying to rip my dashiki. And he just kept talking about it. And I just love it, man. If he is a hockey fan, we got to get him on. If he's not a hockey fan, I'll just pretend like that he's a hockey fan just to get him on. Like I've done it before and I'll do it again.
Soccer is similar to hockey.
Yes. Yeah. Soccer, you know, leg, stick, ball, puck, ice, all the same.
Yeah. Hockey player or a hockey fan. That's a band. That's probably the one band. Well, there's a million bands actually I'd like love to have on the show, but Bad Rabbits is like, that's like easily my favorite band. Having them on would be fucking sick.
I feel like that's in the next year.
I think, you know what? I think whoever lands them first will make sure that we'll get them on the other one. So if we land them, we'll push them over to you. If you land listeners, them, give them to us.
I could text Shield right now.
You heard it here first. Now it's a challenge. It's a race. Well,
I love it.
Make sure you guys go check out the Bardown Breakdown podcast, which can be found where, gentlemen?
We got YouTube. We got Twitter. We got Facebook, Instagram. We got it all. Like I said, all those different graphics I got because of all those damn different platforms. We're on them all.
We're at Bardown Breakdown on Instagram, at BDBD Podcast on Twitter. You could search Bardown Breakdown on Facebook. And then as far as getting the podcast anywhere where you like to get your podcast, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, we're on Spotify. We're pretty much anywhere. And then now that Mikey got me a swanky new webcam, we're on YouTube and stuff as well. And of course, we're proud members of the Hockey Podcast Network. So if you search up the Hockey Podcast Network, you'll find us and then all the other great content creators on that network, which is, I mean, like, if you like what we're doing, you'll like what they're doing because they're actually professionals and we're just a bunch of amateur idiots. So, but yeah, that's where you can find us. Episode 100, we're dropping that on January 27th. We're really, really excited for it. And If you go to one last thing I'll plug real quick. I don't even know if there's any left, but if you go to c2chockey.net, we got a couple of shirts up there. We got, I think, a couple of our Jaws shirts left. But after that, even if our shirts are gone, the Coast to Coast Hockey guys are dope, and they make some great shirts. They're like the softest shirts I've ever worn. So if you go to their website and you don't find our stuff, just buy their stuff, because their stuff is cooler than ours anyway. So
I don't know, man. I do love that Jaws design because it comes from the professional roller hockey team that used to be on Long Island. So,
oh yeah, no, I mean,
it's paying homage to them.
Absolutely, homage is good. But one last thing, and then we'll roll it out. But I just have this very piqued interest in Topo Chico. So I think Mikey specifically says that you guys put him on, because I don't think you were drinking it before you even like talked to Seltzer Time, huh?
Well, Gustavo James, who's like the tattoo artist for Violent Gentlemen and does a lot of their designs, he's been preaching about Topo Chico for a while.
Okay.
And then
like some design work for Topo. He's like in with them somehow.
Yeah. So honestly, it was more of like being able to find it here in Charlotte. And pretty much the only place that has it so far is Whole Foods. And I don't,
it's probably like $8 million.
I don't go to Whole Foods that often. I'm an Aldi supporter. So yeah. Aldi for life.
I only go to Whole Foods to get Topo, because up here, I don't know how much it costs everywhere, but it's like $10 for a 12 pack, which is definitely the cheapest. Or no, yeah, it's $10 for like a 12 pack case. It's definitely the cheapest you can get it. The only other place you can get it is Shaw's, but you have to buy like single bottles, and they're like almost $2 a piece.
Yeah,
it's delicious. There's just something about it.
It's the best. Like the lime actually tastes like lime. Like the strawberries taste like strawberries, or snozberries.
There's a strawberry one?
No, there isn't. I'm just making that up. But
hey, with my goddamn emotions, Mikey, because I just tried the lime, and I just tried
the grapefruit.
Yeah. Both were fantastic.
Yeah. Because it actually tastes like a wedge of lime is in there, where sometimes, you know, the LaCroix and whatnot, they just taste like chemicals.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I like Topo Chico's lime better than I like Polar's lime, because Polar's lime almost feels more soda adjacent, where Topo Chico feels like I'm drinking mineral water, like you described, with a slice of lime in it.
Yeah, that's the way to go. As far as I'm understanding, that Topo Chico is the kiss. So
Topo Chico and lime.
Yeah, man, I'm all about it. And speaking of Aldi, Mikey has been an Aldi supporter since like before Aldi was cool. Like when like you could buy like a 5-pound thing of chopped meat for $8.50, and literally half of it would cook off. So that's probably the best way to end this episode, is just thinking about 50-50 chopped meat just sitting in like an entire pan of grease, and then making tacos and forcing Paul Hank to eat those tacos.
No one knows who Paul Hank is, but that is okay.
That's fine, because I know who Paul Hank is, and that makes me feel good.
Shout out, Paul.
Shout out, Paul. Well, boys, congratulations on 100 episodes.
And congratulations to your 100 episodes, too.
Thank you.
100 boys here, dude. 100 boys.
It's a big...
The race is on to get bad rabbits, so we'll see you on the internet.
Love it, man. Thank you guys so much for having us, man. It's really such a blast. Love what you guys do, and let's do this again when we hit 200, huh? How about that?
Fair deal. But on your show.
Yeah, that's fine. You guys can come on to our show. It's way less professional. Trust me.
Well, I used to play hockey. I'll study up on modern players just to sound literate.
All you got to do is just say Ovechkin. Just say Ovechkin a bunch, and you're fine.
Although, shout out Ovechkin for having yellow laces when none of his uniform is yellow. It's my favorite. I mean, I love him as a player anyway, but that yellow lace thing, if I was a little kid, I'd have that going every fucking time I skated. It's so sick.
He's definitely just like, it's It's funny because yellow is color of lace, but not the rest of my body. It's funny. I drink vodka now.
Shout out Alex Ovechkin as well.
Yeah, Alex. Shout out Alex Ovechkin.
We're never gonna end this episode.
Welcome back, everybody. That was super fun. Shout out
Those
Mikey.
boys are fun.
They're the best. Shout out Tom. We, like we mentioned in the episode, kind of became friendly with those guys last year at the start of the pandemic, and it's just we've just kind of stayed homies the entire time, and it only made sense that we have them on.
And you've been on their show a couple times, and
yeah,
it was time to return the favor.
They listened to ours, and everybody drinks seltzer, and we all like hockey and rock and roll music, so it made the most sense. And they're literally like the funniest people ever.
Do you get that they're kind of like our doppelganger in a way? Like we are very similar. Like we have similar personality types. Like Mikey and I are similar, and you and Tom are similar.
For sure. They have the better looking mirrors, but whatever. It is what it is, It's fine.
Yeah, we can't afford them good stuffs yet. We're not on a podcast network.
Someday.
Yeah, mad respect, boys. Also, congrats on the 100th episode.
What?
I said congrats on the 100th episode, boyos.
Oh, yeah. Congrats on the 100th episode. I'm extremely excited to listen to that one. I love the graphics and stuff that you guys have been doing with the away message thing. Definitely touches at my heart. And you have a massive guest on that 100th episode. That's a pretty good get. You guys are killing it.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's about that time.
Let's do it.
Hit us with that good song.
Stokes and pokes and Stokes and pokes. Stokes and pokes and Stokes and pokes. Ba-da-da, Stokes and pokes and Stokes and pokes and Stokes and
Nice.
This is how they know I mean business. And I was wearing these the other night on the Jackbox stream, and I kept telling everybody I'm here to win. But they're so filthy that I can't see shit through them.
That's how I read.
I'm going to start by poking. We did the intro for Sort of Late Show. It was pretty cool. Brian put together a bunch of footage, but Sarah and I went on an adventure, went around Shrewsbury Street and a bunch of other spots around Worcester and shot literally every neon sign that we could see, like every crappy open sign, because we wanted to put like a true Worcester picture together. And Brian put together this awesome intro, and it's awesome. I hope he puts it up on Instagram separately or something. But the thing I'm poking is we were walking up and down Shrewsbury Street, and there were not as many masks as we were hoping to see. Both Sarah and I were masked up the entire time, and I would say more than half the people had masks on, but the fact that the number was that low was kind of disconcerting. I understand if you're inside, you're at a table, you don't necessarily have to wear one, but we're in Massachusetts and, we're a smart people and we want to, hey, we're like to have the best hospitals. We should probably have some of the smartest people. So get on board.
Is true.
And until then, I'm going to continue staying in my house and not leaving until I go to the store. Yeah. So because of that, I have to go to concerts online, and I am stoked that there are so many cool new concerts coming out. And 2 Minutes to Late Night, that late night heavy metal talk show that I keep talking about, has been doing these covers throughout the entire pandemic. And this Friday, the 29th, they are doing the first episode of Splitsville, which is Cave In, an awesome progressive metal band, covering Every Time I Die, a post-hardcore, whatever you want to, but they're actually covering each other's songs. It's such a cool fucking idea. Tickets start at $5. $5. You could find $5 in your house.
Sure.
So if you want to see some good live music and some interesting stuff that you probably won't see anywhere else, check out 2 Minutes to Late Night, honorableswords.com, and go grab yourself a ticket because they're awesome people to support. Apparently apparently Brendan Coughlin had something to do with it. He said I don't know. He said he took part of it, or he took part in it, or had something to do with it. I don't know. Oh,
that's super rad.
So
shout out Brendan Coughlin, probably the most talented human being I've ever met in my entire life, who I'm sure someday we'll have on the show because that kid has done some really incredible stuff that needs to be taught.
I just wanted to teach us how to do the ball and
The ball thing.
it's so entertaining to watch.
It's so sick. I know. We need, someday. Maybe Brendan should be the first episode we have back in person so we can like film us trying to do the ball thing.
We get 3 of those, or he brings his and we get 2. I'm into it. I like it.
I'm into it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, never mind. That's just going to be a surprise. People should watch the Jackbox stream because I lost a bet. And I have to wear a horrendous t-shirt at the first live Woo Nanny show.
Okay.
That was drawn on stream.
That's adorable.
Oh, it will be. What do you got for the people, Ricky?
What's up, everybody? Okay, so I'm going to quickly just throw this out there because I just thought of it. I actually have like 3 Stokes, but 2 of them are really quick. So I'm going to throw out the 2 quick ones, and then I'm going to throw out my poke, and then I'm going to throw out my Stoke.
You do you. You live your best life.
Okay. Quick poke or quick Stoke number 1. Our buddy Ben White and I walked the rail trail in West Boylston on Sunday with his dog Choco, coolest dog in the world. It was a blast. If you guys have not done the rail trail, I grew up like literally 2 minutes from the rail trail, and I haven't been there in maybe more than 15 years. It's been a really long time. I drive by it all the time, but I never stopped. It was awesome. Still super beautiful. Cool walk. It's not super long. I mean, it goes a lot longer. We stopped where you weren't allowed to bring dogs anymore.
Fair.
Yeah, it was super dope. So go do the rail trail. Shout out Ben White. And then my other quick Stoke is Worcester Wares finally has a TikTok. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's super fun.
Have.
Yeah, me and that little Orson, stuffed Orson there, have been having some adventures, I should say. So that's a good time. Okay, my official area, my poke, the official Stokes and Pokes. So my poke is we have a pellet stove, and we definitely should have had it. So you have to have them cleaned out when you buy a house and it has a pellet stove. You have to have it cleaned to like keep your insurance company fucking happy. We have to do that, and so we can't use it until we do. Because like I'll fucking burn the house down or something, and like they won't. Our insurance won't. Yeah. So so we have to do that, but every company is wildly backed up because turns out 'tis the season to have your fucking pellet stoves cleaned. So hopefully it happens this week. They told us end of January, and we are definitely there. But yeah, we'll see. So I'm just poking those guys because it's fucking cold out. We have heat, but like it's expensive. It's much. Plus, like I just want to like try the pellet stove. It's so sick.
So just out of curiosity, you've been in the house how long?
Since August.
Could you have gotten it serviced in August or September? Just out of curiosity.
Of course we could.
Oh, okay, perfect. No. Fuck those guys.
It did. It did.
Their fault.
It did. Okay, up until it got really cold, it was Larry and Baby's little seat while they watch the birds at the bird feeder, and it's really fucking cute. And finally, we got to a point where it got cold, and we called, and there was like a 2-month backup. And we called again, and it was like end of January, and we're now at end of January. So hopefully we can get it fixed so we can get like a couple months out of it.
Hell yeah.
But they were good because like I'll pay attention how to clean it. It'll be sweet after that. I'll be all good for like next year and stuff. But yeah, it's more of like the insurance company making sure that we do
it's
the
your
right.
First year in the house, so you don't want to screw up.
Exactly. Yeah. I've never had a pellet stove, so I think learning how to clean it the right way is probably a good idea for me.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So if anybody has an official pellet stove cleaning guy or company or whatever it is that we need, DM me so we can fucking get this shit going. So, because thank you.
Your boys got cold nose.
Yeah, right. Although I'm currently wearing basketball shorts because I never dress appropriately ever. I can't sleep in sweatpants. Like, I just can't. I can't do it. I'll wear them around the house, but then before I go to bed, I always put on basketball shorts and a t-shirt.
You sleep in a t-shirt?
I have to. I just run too hot. And even then, some nights I wake up and I'm hot.
Sure. Yeah. So I strip down to my skivvies. I sleep in my boxers every night.
Really?
Yeah.
I definitely can do that, but like,
it's painful in the winter because under the covers I'm mint jam, but outside I got icicles on my gonads.
Yeah, I can see that.
And every night's a 2-dog night for us. So, we have the hot bottle dogs that are warm us up.
Well, like, so we have the cats, and like they sometimes will sleep with us. Maybe tends to decide randomly throughout the night whether she's going to sleep on my side or Naomi's side. And if she sleeps on my side, I like cannot sleep through the night because she's really hot, Naomi's really hot, and I wake up and I'm like, I can't fucking breathe. Because one of them is down by my feet, the other one's right next to me, and I'm still, like I said, basketball shorts, t-shirt, and I'm like straight up fucking dying. So yeah, that's how I sleep. So you're welcome, Giselle. So
calling it back.
That's it. So my stoke, our homies over at Chashu Ramen. We've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast.
The infamous edamame.
Dude, that fucking edamame is so good. They hooked us up with a couple of to-go cocktails to try out, both of which were delicious. I didn't share them with you, mostly because you don't drink cocktails.
I also didn't even know they existed. Were they good? They sound awesome.
They were super good. One of them was the Woo Tiki.
Ooh.
Was super... I literally, I drank most of it. I gave some to Naomi. She doesn't really drink, but she, had a couple sips, and she's like, this is delicious. And I was like, oh, you can
taste it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, you can finish it. Like, I already had, because you can get 2 drinks out of each bottle. And I was like, oh, I already had one. Like, you can have the rest of it. So I went and poured myself some tequila to sip on. And then, 2 sips later, she was done. She's like, I don't want any more. You can have it. And I was like, okay. So then it was
So then you had a tequila and a Woo Tiki.
Woo Tiki. It was so good. Such a good tropical drink. Definitely didn't feel like I was sitting in Worcester. Would have been real nice if that pellet stove was going, though, and I was down to a tank top and shorts and just chilling. And then
on your nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. A little straw hat. The next night I had the Shabo or Shobo. So I forget the name, but check out our Instagram because it's on there. I had that, which is a whiskey cocktail made with orange, and it was friggin'. That was my sweet spot. The Woo Tiki is delicious, and I can't recommend it enough. For my consumption, it's a little too sweet. Granted, I had fucking 2 of them, but one and a half. Yeah, 1.5. But it was great, and I would 100% drink it again. For things that I typically drink, bitter whiskey, orange cocktails are.
So it wasn't overly sweet orange?
No, not even close. It was exactly what I like to drink. It was perfect. So I was super stoked on that. I drank both of those, but that was it. Back in the day, I would have 2 and then plus, but I only had 2. I had that tequila the first night, but whatever.
The Seltzer Time podcast is a judgment-free zone.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
And just in terms of alcohol and cannabis. Yeah, we don't vibe check on the Seltzer Time podcast. That should be what we say.
That's true. We don't vibe check. But yeah, so shout out those guys. Cocktails are awesome. Their food is incredible. Please support them. And if you don't feel comfortable going to a restaurant, there's always takeout.
Yeah. Take these things home. Eat better food in your house.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Oh,
doing the takeout thing, once or twice a week. And
once a week is us.
Yeah. I'm really hoping, so I know they're loosening up restrictions for that stuff, which is cool. That's awesome. I'm stoked for all my friends who work in that world and my friends who own restaurants and in different businesses in that world. I'll probably continue to do takeout for a while because
that's just how I feel. Plus, other things at play. There are other people in your house. It's more than just us. They're
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah. And it's like honestly, the way I look at it, like me getting takeout frees up a table for somebody who wants to be there. And I'm still like, when I get takeout, I'm still getting food for two people. Sometimes I'll get to-go cocktails, like definitely gonna do that Shasu. And then you're still tipping. You know what I mean? Like nothing really changes. You're just leaving that table open for the person who wants to go sit at a restaurant. So yeah, just keep supporting all the homies. And
that's the moral of this story.
Let's get back to normal so I can go back out in the world and see my friends.
But get back to normal in a healthy way.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you've done it, people. You listened to us ramble for another hour, and we are forever grateful. Please find us at SeltzerTime.com. If you listen to this podcast on a platform, it'd be awesome if you can kind of rate it and write a review. That helps us find new listeners and get suggested to other people.
It makes you guys feel any better. Giselle has rated it a 5.
Yeah. TB was a 3.5, but we all know why.
Yeah, he's a Trump supporter. He gets mad every time I bitch about it.
Find me on the interwebs at Hunchback Travis.
You can find me at Dick. You can find me at Dick Jackson. I'm so stoked I got to call out Tom Brady just now being a Trump supporter. I know he listens. Fuck you, Tom. But congratulations. And I am pulling for you to win the Super Bowl. You can find me at DickChuck77. You can find me at Seltzer Time Official. We're on TikTok. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm sorry. I'm not at the moment. We're going to get there. We're on all the platforms that you need to be on. I started playing with Snapchat again. That was fun.
Oh.
I don't know what to do with it, but I don't know. It's
Sounds
a thing.
fun.
Yeah.
See you next week, y'all.
Bye, guys. We'll see you later.
In your dreams.
Tom.